Gimping ain't easy, but it's necessary. I be getting weary, cause shit be getting scary. But sit back, relax, and don't you dare worry, cause I be hitting wrongs with a righteous fury. Yes, sir, see, I am the only one. My name is Josh Dunn, gonna have some fun telling the truths y'all can't handle. I might raise a scandal as I dismantle the fake, make them quake and make them shake. I make you bend, but never will I make you break. Just chill, yo, and don't be frightened. Open that closed mind, it's time to get enlightened. Welcome, folks, to Gimpin' Ain't Easy, cause it ain't, episode number 14. This week's episode is brought to you once again, as always, by Cafe Sempoal, where this week's feature book is Arthur Haley's 1965 novel, Hotel. The major sections are divided into days with small chapters within each day. Well, I struggled through Monday, and man, this is trashy drivel, and even contains a rape. Ugh, no thanks, I'll pass. But you know what? There are plenty of other amazing books there. Take a peek anyhow. You might have a different opinion than me. We're also brought to you once again, as always, by Charlie's Club, where most shots are $2.75 on Tuesdays, so even if you make some real bad decisions, you won't go broke making them. Toddy's still mostly out of work and the GoFundMe is gone, so drop by Chuck's with some bucks for Toddy. And you, Laura, go pay your tab. So far, I've threatened to steal Laura's spoons, the toilet seats at her workplace, and her identity to frame her in the biggest My Little Pony heist of all time. Well, that last one backfired on me because I've now incurred a $74,000 Visa debt from unpaid troll doll purchases in the 90s. We're also brought to you this week by Visa brand credit cards. Don't steal other people's identities, and you won't incur their debts. You know, folks, if we actually want to change things, we can't always be nice and polite. If we're conciliatory all the time, nothing can ever change. I'm not the nicest person you met by far, but I might be the most honest. I think nice and polite often hide the truth. Now, that doesn't mean you got to be mean and rude, but I do think in a lot of cases we got to stop sugarcoating things. Very few people actually know what it's like to be disabled like me. You can't escape it. It's always there, and I can pretty much guarantee that at least one person is going to say something stupid to me nearly every day. Imagine if you had to live with that. Now, add to the fact that someone like me isn't fully seen as a human being, that means you can't ever really get anywhere. Life just won't really let you live. And as I've said on numerous occasions, there are people with far more severe disabilities than me, and I'm probably a great deal more fortunate than most, but just because I've got it good compared to others in similar situations doesn't mean I've got it good in general. One of the things I've found most soul-crushing is that the disability organizations, the very institutions that really ought to serve as the bridge to enable us a more dignified status in the greater world, are often the most discriminatory and exploitative of all. And worse still, they get to spread a fraudulent message that they are actually making a real difference. Well, I've had enough. I'm not taking it anymore. My demands have been more than reasonable, and they are never met or even considered, frankly. And when I see patterns of behavior that refuse to change, I'm going to get nasty if I have to force you into doing the right thing. And hey, not every time, not every show. Life is something that needs to be celebrated and enjoyed as well. But if I just play the nice guy and let these flagrant bigotries pass by unchecked, then I'm not properly doing my job to use the platforms available to me to create a more decent and fair world. I think sometimes folks get more uncomfortable with the should I say, not because it's wrong or even that it's that offensive, but simply because they've never heard it before. Let's face it, the only way mobility issues are really in the public discourse at all is in physical access to spaces, right? Whereas I'm focused on emotional, psychological, and spiritual access to life. Those require more complex arguments. And of course, you need to build those ramps, right? But sometimes this shit just gets me so heated, I'm going to have to go off in a way to something I find offensive. So over the next while, we're going to introduce special paid-for segments called Josh's Fuck Yous. This is for the folks who are on the cutting edge and who believe in supporting poor people. And don't worry, I'll still try to make them entertaining. I've got one fuck you left in me for this show, and that goes out to the guy at Charlie's last night who demanded I give him back his chair. No idea it was his, and he swoops in and he says, "I know you're a little fucked up, but you ain't taking my chair." And then, he only sits there for 2 minutes and goes off somewhere else. His son or buddy, whoever it was, a younger fella, helped me get another chair, and he was really cool, man. Everybody else was really cool. My friends hooking me up. Thank you, But what is it, man, speaking to me like that? What are you, a fucking dog marking his territory? You're a man. Act like it. And this cat probably didn't know, but on damp days, sometimes I'm in pain from neck to ankle, and shifting chairs can be pretty uncomfortable. It's harder than walking in forward motion for some distance. You didn't know, so now you do. But by the looks of that ugly gray mustache, you're going to know soon enough. Wouldn't you rather your karma be in good standing when you need help? Folks, this is episode number 14 of Gimpin' Ain't Easy 'Cause It Ain't, and I'm here with, for the first time ever, a member of my family. It's my cousin, Double O. What's Papa Double O?
Hey, how's it going, Josh?
It's going good. You saying loud, man. You coming in hot, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well, thank you. I just wanted to congratulate you on the podcast. It's been awesome, and big ups. Also, big ups to your producer, Mark, a.k.a. 1942. You guys doing big things here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For those who might not know otherwise, to my understanding, Double O finally heard an episode last week when I was at his house and played him one.
It was very entertaining. I love it.
That was the Frisbee Rob episode, in case folks were wondering, when my Ming vase got broken and I wasn't able to put my kids through college anymore. So this is the first time I've had somebody from my family here, and I'm going to know some of the answers to the questions, and I'm also rolling like last week without written down questions, so I'm just going in my themes and going how I go with my freestyle, So Double O, like I start off with most of these cats. What was your childhood like?
Well, I had a great childhood, actually. Grew up in the 80s and the early 90s. Big lover of baseball and all pop culture of the 80s and early 90s.
Did you dress up as Madonna one year for Halloween?
I can't say I did, but I think I might have had one of those slip-on Ninja Turtles costumes, possibly.
Oh yeah, man! I started that stuff when I was like 5 years old, man. I was Michelangelo for Halloween. Oh, we might want to pop open that microwave door so that doesn't keep beeping on us. Would be good. I think 1942 can get the jam when it comes down to the game. But so really positive experiences. That's awesome to hear. And then I was going to say probably one of your earliest, I would think difficulties would be your parents splitting up. How old were you when that took place? About?
Oh gosh, that's I have to say 1989, 88. It actually wasn't all that big of a deal for me. I had a really positive relationship with both my parents, regardless if they were together or not. My dad was always there for me. He picked me up every weekend. We would watch the baseball games, listen to the Blue Jays on the radio. He would take me to card shops, buying, George Bell rookie card, that kind of thing.
He even took you down the track, didn't he?
It's funny you mentioned that. I think my first time I went to the horse races was 5 years old. And he taught me how to bet, over like I couldn't tell you how to do it now because it's pretty complicated, but well, from my understanding at least. But I remember at one point I was probably no more than 10 years old, and I was a pro. I was making more money than he was at the racetracks.
10-year-old son out winning you at the racetrack.
And I got to add to that. When was it? My dad. He passed away back in 2013, and in 2012, I was able to take him to Ontario to go visit some family in Niagara Falls. And during that trip, we went to the bigger horse race track there. I believe it's called Woodbine. And I was lucky enough to take my daughter there. And she was, I would probably say, around 10 years old herself. So she was, my dad got her into betting on the horses as well. And you know what? She also did better than the both of us.
You hear that, folks? You encourage your children to bet because as you get older, not only do you forget how the rules go so you can't explain them off the spot, but you also lose more money. So start early, bet early.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I just wanted to share a quick one on Jack for myself, just some memories. And I remember me and Double O first hanging out when I was 13 in late 96. And Jack would drive you there and back, and he'd rent the N64 games for us and shit, so it was dope.
Yeah, those are the Blockbuster days.
Yeah, they certainly were. And then I remember when you finally graduated high school, I guess only 1 year late, so not too bad finally, but, and he's coming in, and we're having some drinks, and he's like, "Young man, you smell of booze."
Well, I probably did.
No, you said it to me. Being underage. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was funny like that.
Yeah, it was comical. I don't think I did, but just because of that, I started smelling myself, just in case.
Yeah, that's right. It was probably me smelling like booze, and he just caught it off me instead.
Yeah, or like not smelling nothing. He was just playing with me.
Yeah. He loved to pull legs from here and there.
Yep, pulled mine right off.
Yeah.
He did. So that was really cool. And then, one thing I wanted to point out to people is that I think that you have been in court more times than a career criminal.
I have. But there's a big difference between the court that I was in and the career criminal, which I was in family court. With going through custody with my daughter and even more than that, just a bunch of that kind of stuff. It's all over now, though.
Yeah, that's right. There'll be no more court appearances, at least not related to that, eh?
No, I guarantee that.
Yeah. Old Triple O is 14, so a little shout out to her if she ends up listening to this at some point. Pop Triple O. Your daddy gave my first drink at 13, and you's 14 now, so I missed the boat on that, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And then you'd spent a lot of time away from home in your younger days, both in Vancouver and then Niagara Falls. What was that like, getting into a whole new coast?
Oh, well, I got to tell you, it was amazing. For Vancouver, that is, because I moved there when at the height of the East Coast, West Coast rivalry. And there was a whole, in rap, that is, and there was a whole, I don't know, things were different back then. And moving from Halifax to Vancouver was just a really eye-opening experience. Moving in with my brother, downtown Vancouver, 24 floors up, was a little bit different than growing up in Dartmouth.
Yeah, sweet. That sounds like a good time. Lots of new culture. You did get into a little bit something trouble, didn't you, down there?
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But you. I think it's funny because you've learned from the error of the ways. And I'm just wondering, for the folks that can't see, what are you searching for? Oh, he's gone away from the microphone, doing a quick run into for some Kleenex, probably. There we go. Is it a nosebleed?
Maybe.
I'm going to share this with people because I think this is pertinent information.
Yeah.
Double O usually has a nosebleed when something either really intense in a good way or spiritual is going on. In fact, the biggest time I remember this is tell them about the time that you were coming home from church on Christmas Eve.
Oh, wow. Got to bring that up. I was going to a Christmas party when I was, 17 years old, and maybe 18. And for some reason, I made plans to go with my mom to midnight mass on Christmas Eve, which I hadn't done since I was like a kid. Like I used to be a churchgoer when I was a kid, just because of my family, and
like most kids, they don't have a choice.
Yeah, and plus back then it was a little bit different too. And so we went, and then I got a really, really bad nosebleed during mass, and afterwards she was driving me to this party, and a car came out. I was sitting in the passenger seat, of course, with my mother driving, and a car, as we were just driving along the road, a car shot out at us from, just didn't see us or whatever, and it, I swear, this is one of those strange things in life that I swear I should have died that night, because he came right at me. And I could see, I swear, it was no more than a few feet away from his windshield. It was the strangest thing ever. It's almost as if the front of his car went right through me, and it was like a ghost car or something. I don't know how to explain it other than that. And yeah, I don't know. I'm probably talking too long about this subject, but it basically, I should have died that night, and I didn't. And I don't get going back to the nosebleeds. I don't really get them unless I don't know, just certain weird things in life going on.
Double O don't get nosebleeds unless something going down. So I wonder what's going down tonight, Double O.
I don't know. Big changes, I guess. Big changes.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I hope if a car hits me, it is a fucking ghost car, because I want to stick around for a minute. And if I hope a car doesn't hit me at all, because I ain't going out the rest of the night. So if a car hits me, it's going through my third floor apartment, man. So
there you go.
That's going to be some nasty business. Yeah, so that's really cool. We can talk some more about that stuff too. But before I wanted to get on some of the struggles you've been through, why don't you tell the folks about some of your how badly injured you've been?
Oh, come on now. I don't know. I was hit by a taxi in a crosswalk on September the 11th, 2011, maybe?
I think so, or 10.
Or 10.
Yeah, it was around there.
Yeah, one of the two. And ironically, now bear in mind, this is nothing but coincidence. It was.
You didn't get no nosebleed that time, did you?
No, I didn't.
Right?
I didn't.
That's nosebleeds only come when you get saved.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I was hit by a taxi. I jumped out of the way thinking that I made it. And when I realized I couldn't get out of the ground, or off the ground, that's when I was in shock, so I didn't feel any pain. And so I got up, or tried to get up, and realized I couldn't. And meanwhile, the taxi tried to do a hit and run, but it was like it was downtown Halifax on a Friday rush hour. So I think he realized once he got about a block away, he couldn't
run to, baby.
So that's one of them. I'll just discuss my major ones. I also had a bad bicycle accident approximately 3-4 years ago, where I just basically went flying off my bike and shattered the top bone in my right shoulder.
Didn't your arm break in like 4 places?
Well, you know how the I forget what it's called, the long bone from your elbow to your shoulder is.
It ain't the femur, is this? Oh, that shows that I know.
I confuse that as well because the whole leg thing as well. I'm no medical expert, but I should be, but I'm not. The top part of the bone snapped off and it shattered. So the surgeon said that I was one step away from being flown to Toronto to have specialty surgery, but it all worked out in the end, and yeah.
So yeah, folks, Double O has been injured so severely. At times, he's been more disabled than I am, but it hasn't stuck that way. He's gotten, I think, pretty good medical care and all that stuff. And I think in light of also recuperating, rejuvenating, Double O's mum, my Aunt Donna, has recently gotten better from some cancer.
Yeah, she was first diagnosed with leukemia. That was a big blow. And then probably about 6 to 8 months afterwards, she was diagnosed with, I don't know the term, but
cervical cancer.
It was cervical cancer, though, yeah.
Yeah.
And she didn't take so well to the radiation, and she was hospitalized for quite some time. And I didn't even think that she would make it, to be honest. But she's at home. She's doing great. She's back on the road to recovery.
Yeah, no, that's got to be a tremendous burden off you, right? Because I remember, like, none of us knew, remember? Oh, and that's another thing, too, you folks, these doctors wasn't getting back to her to let her know what's going on.
Well, it was really weird because her oncologist, he was good in some ways, but he was pretty direct in others, which kind of made him look like a bit of an uncaring ass. But in the end, he had just up and quit with really no notice. And I thought, this asshole is just leaving his patients high and dry. And then when my mom finally got back in after months of not even knowing what her status was, when she finally got back in, they said, did you hear about your oncologist, your former oncologist? He passed away from cancer. And he had passed away. It was very shortly after my mom was hospitalized. So it really made me think a lot about what he did, and the fact that he was curing people or treating people right up until the very end. I have a lot of respect for him now. And my mom said to me not long ago, just think about how many people he cured while he knew he was dying, including myself. So,
right. Yeah, no, that's totally on the money. And the little snicker that I might have gave that the mic might have picked up was not that, that this fellow died or this and that, but just that sometimes how wrong our impressions can be. He might have been a bit of an uncaring ass, but no, he actually died of cancer.
Yeah, and he knew he was dying of cancer.
Right.
So, I mean, it kind of makes sense now why he was rather short.
Yeah.
In certain subjects.
Yep. No, totally. And yeah, like you said, fighting right, doing the best you probably could. And no, it's so glad to see Donna, but as far as we know, healthy and off of that scare. Because yeah, that's a tough thing, being the youngest child of older parents and all that. So it's cool that we still got that going. And I was gonna talk a little bit about some of our family stuff, but just before I get into that, I wanted to talk about how Double O has. It's funny because almost every guest that I've had on here, it's like I want you to have sort of a purpose in life, and Double O. I was always gonna have Double O on because he's my cousin, and we talk about some cool shit and stuff like that, but. Very recently, Double O has actually entered into the category of finding a purpose, in my opinion. Why don't you tell them a little bit about that?
Oh, what do you mean? I've been, I don't know, I think there's more than one avenue on that.
I guess I meant professionally speaking.
Professionally? Well, I've been employed with a major bank for the past, going on 14 years now. And I took it, or I stayed with the job for so long because of the vacation, scheduling, pay, and so forth, all revolving around my daughter. Everything
Who he doesn't get to see very often.
Yeah. Oh,
doesn't
yes. I should mention that my daughter, she used to live in Halifax, and then she moved to Vancouver when she was 5 years old. And when that happened, the judge gave me a whole bunch of time with her, like almost like unreasonably more time than what the average person would have, because I don't know why, but it was just like. Gosh, I don't know how to explain it.
I think he probably sensed you were a real good parent and probably wanted to give you the best break of possible, given that you were going to be so separated.
Yeah. I would agree with that, but it's almost like what kind of person has that much vacation time, I guess. Like it's almost like
He expected you wouldn't have it.
Yeah, it's like I was unemployed for the amount of time, and it was just it was very, very hard to work around. And basically, when that happened, I gave up my own life for hers in terms of career, money, and ultimately happiness, which I only realized recently because of how unhappy I've been doing what I've been doing. And bear in mind, I want to clarify to everybody listening that it was also a call center that I was working for as well, which might make a difference.
Yeah, he wasn't guarding the bank or something interesting.
No, I'm sure a teller at a bank probably has more of an interesting life than myself for professionally. Well, up until recently, that is. And
what have you thought about doing recently to change that up?
Well, I've had a lot of changes in my life lately. Major changes, a lot of things to think about, and so I thought long and hard about what I want to do there, and I thought that an adventure in law enforcement might be the way. I had a real Office Space moment for anybody that's seen that movie Office Space, where he just completely hates his life, and he's working outside digging a ditch, and he's happy. That's how I feel right now.
Yeah, I just want to point out to folks how much 00 was talking. Remember, we were talking on the phone the other night. He said, "I just felt like, man, I was gonna ram my head into a tree until either my head or the tree wasn't there anymore."
I'm surprised you remember that quote. That's exactly what I said.
It stuck with me. It was funny, right? So, and then, but what do you think? What do you think? Like, and obviously you haven't been involved in it yet, so this is only conjecture and speculation.
Oh yes, I can't. It's not like I'm approved or anything.
No. But that's not even where I was going to that end of things. But what do you hope that this journey might bring you?
Happiness. Happiness. Honor. A place in life, giving back to the community.
So like an important role to play, but that helps others, right?
Exactly. And, I think honor is a really big thing as well, where not only working outside of an office, but also working for something with purpose.
Right. Trying to fix some wrongs, trying to, whatever ways that you're enabled by this, make your little territory, whatever, with the power that's bestowed upon you, to be a better place for everybody.
Exactly. And I have to admit, when I see things like community events with law enforcement being so involved, playing basketball with children or whatever it is, that's my goal. That's what I really think that I'm going to get happiness out of.
So you hear that, folks? 00 got cut from his high school basketball team, so now he's going to join law enforcement so he can play these children and finally beat them
it's going to be
39 years old.
It's going to be like one of those videos when you see like Shaq smacking the ball out of those those kids and all that. Yeah, it's going to be nothing but that I don't know.
Or Prince beating Charlie Murphy and his whole crew.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I just need to get some ruffles and some heels, I guess.
Yeah, man. Make a purple rain, baby. Make a purple rain.
What are we talking about? Let's get to something interesting
I'm being
here.
silly. Yeah. Let's tell them about some of our family shit. You want to tell them what may have happened to my great grandfather and your grandfather, which is the same guy, by the way.
Which part?
How he met his end.
What, my uncle?
No, you're Cyril.
Cyril.
Yeah,
Cyril.
sorry,
I'm sorry.
your
I'm
grandfather,
sorry.
my
There's just so much drama, and I thought that
Yep.
with your grandfather. Okay, my bad. Gosh. Okay, so this would have been he was born in the late 1800s.
1899.
There we go. And he was in World War I. After he got back from the war, he had taken up a job as, what was it? I believe it was a chef.
Yeah, he was
for
a
a
chef.
hotel in downtown Halifax. And I can't remember the story exactly, but something happened where his boss wanted him to do a weekend of chefing in Cape Breton. And so he went up there, and apparently the boss's daughter had wanted to be romantically involved with him. And I don't know anything about what became of that. I don't know if he did, if he didn't. I don't know. So, what did you have something to add?
I was going to say, yeah. He was rumor has it
That they were together.
Yeah, and all the things that happened subsequently actually
Okay.
are rumor has it because we don't know.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. So, maybe you want to add to that story. I'm drawing some
Okay,
blanks
yeah,
here.
sorry. No, I distracted his flow, so I threw 00 off the game, but I'm going to try to pick it up right quick here. So, I know that I don't know who this was in the relationship and whatever like that, but apparently, Cyril kind of relented to a romantic tryst that he was trying not to have. And he'd also served in World War I and II. He was a veteran of both. So we'd heard when we were younger that, he died of his war injuries and it was never really explained. Well, apparently, possibly, it turns out that like the brother of this lover, this illicit affair, her brother, I think, found Cyril, came to him, maybe got a couple guys on him, whatever, and like beat him up really bad, and he died from those injuries. So like a war veteran. So just from some scandal, and then besides of that, we have his son and 00's uncle, my great uncle, went down in a murder suicide, but a cop may have actually done the whole thing and framed him. So we got like mad scandal up in our family, and nobody
Cop
knows.
framing him.
Yeah, I'm talking not Cyril. I switched to Bob.
Oh,
besides,
okay.
Sorry. Yeah. So, but just these stories are so old, and nobody knows because like in that other case, Bob's wife was having an affair with a police officer and apparently some mafia boss as well. But these tales.
Well, the story with her was now for anybody listening, we're talking about my uncle now, not Cyril. His name was Bob. I got thrown off there.
His name was Bob. He was a very good bowler. If you want to talk about him that way.
No, not at all. I
No?
just got thrown off there. I'm sorry. He was apparently a hot-tempered guy. He served with your grandfather. That's how you came into the family.
That's right.
In World War II, they were blown up on November the 11th on
1943.
Yeah, and they were blown up on a merchant ship and survived quite some time in the water. Then, when they got back home, he was a pretty hot-tempered guy, and rumor has it that he found out about his wife, who apparently was a bookie for that's, I don't know, organized crime.
Gambling syndicate.
Yeah, something like that. And so something, what was it? The story was that, when he got back from the war, he had a prized possession of a German Luger.
Oh, yeah, right.
And so he and his son, who's, I don't know, 10 years old, 14 years old.
I think 14.
Yeah. And his wife, they were murdered they were all shot with the Luger that he had brought back from World War II. And just the angle of everything in my uncle's head seemed to be evidence that it wasn't a murder-suicide, which is the official cause, that it was ruled. So, what do they say? That he had killed his son in his bed while he was sleeping, then he murdered his wife, and then turned the gun on himself. Then my grandmother she went out and hired a private investigator. And on the first meeting, the private investigator warned her to not further the investigation unless she wanted to have acid thrown in her face. There were something to do with that there were reports of a cop that she was having an affair with looking through the window that night. This is all speculation, though.
But it's mad scandal, whatever way it happened. That's some intense stuff.
Oh, it certainly is.
Trauma and drama,
It certainly is.
And I just Double O, can you find? I got some Tennessee honey around my feet somewhere, but I can't see it. I'll keep talking as you're looking. If you pass to me, I wanted to tell the folks the story about how my grandparents got together. So that fellow, that uncle, my great uncle and Double O's uncle. His sister is my grandmother, and my grandfather served with Bob on the ships. They were two of only 22 survivors in that ammunition ship blow up, and so the families came together by that friendship. So that's a large part of how I was coming into the world. Did you happen to spot that?
I did.
Where may it be?
I believe. No, I'm sorry. It turned out to be an empty Coke bottle.
How is my liquor treatment? The gods are spiting me today. I don't know if that was the spiritual sign that I should stop drinking or what was going on. It might be on the shelf under there. But anyway, we'll find that at some point. I'll get on to some more stuff. So, why don't we talk about some of the spiritual stuff that's happened with us over the past number of years?
Sure. Are we going to talk about us specifically or the world or what? I think both me and you are pretty in touch with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can. We can go anywhere you want with that. You could talk about the greater geopolitical stuff. You can talk about your personal stuff. Where do you want to
I don't know. Why don't you lead?
All right, I'll do it. I'm leading this dance. I just dipped him, folks. Double O got another injury. And so we I've noticed a number of things over the years, sort of feeling in tune, the connection of a greater awareness. Sometimes I see like flashing lights, and it's almost like, the best way I could describe it is like a camera flash, and it's almost like you don't see it, but you did. And because it's just so fast, and it happens before you have intellectually a chance to process it. And I looked up, it could be like a major eye condition, but I got tested for that, and it's not that. I'm nearsighted, but I don't have any, I'm not losing my vision.
Well, you never know. You never know. The world's full of weird things, and you never know.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to test my optic nerves and whatever, and it just just makes me feel like really in tune with stuff. And in a lot of ways, I guess how it manifests for me in like what I do is it makes me in touch of like a greater morality. And it's not one to, be hateful or this and that, but I think it makes me think about when things are clearly wrong, that they really need to be better. Things like people starving, things like war that could end. I mean, war period, but war that could end the whole species of humanity. And pollution to the same level. It just I think it reminds me that we as humans have capacity to do much more good than what we are currently doing. That's ultimately how I feel about all that stuff. What about you, Double O?
Yeah, I would agree with you. Its world is messed. It's so much selfishness, greed. Even down to everything that we live in for the society and the power structures and the economy, it's all made up. I mean, it's a world that we've made, that's a fake world that we've made for ourselves in one way.
That's cool. How do you think that it can be made better?
I guess first of all, people taking responsibility for their own lives instead of complaining about everything when they don't even have the ability to pick up anything in their own life. They just expect to be carried, and then they complain about it the whole way.
Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Yeah, that's a good JFK.
I thought it was a horrible JFK, but at least I
think that was like Eisenhower meeting JFK.
That's right. Yeah, I'm a hybrid. I'm really bringing the world together, folks. I'm bringing together dead Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, and they were both guilty of war crimes. So.
Yeah, I think every American president probably has been. So what else besides taking ownership and responsibility for ourselves can we do?
We got to love each other more.
Yep.
We have to be more kind to each other. We have to be more willing to share with each other. We need to build a community with each other.
I couldn't agree more. And one like little addendum I put it, like I think love each other too, right? But like some people really get on my nerves, and I can't fucking stand them, and I do kind of hate them. But
well, I think that's part of the problem.
Right. Well, but here's the thing, though. Here's where I'm going to challenge that. I don't ever deny their right to exist. You know what I mean? Like,
of course
they
not.
They still have a basic humanity and deserve a modicum of respect. And my feelings toward them is simply that I hate their actions.
Well, exactly. I think a lot of it has to do with education, and it's not what the education is. Like, for instance, it's just as ignorant to be blind to everything as it is to be just. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
To like know everything but not pay attention to the context in which you're saying it, or
I guess like one of the major problems is in school. You're not taught to think for yourself. You're given a book, and in the book, you're taught to learn what they want you. And I'm not saying anything about what's in the book, if it's right or wrong, but they want you to learn what's in the book, and they want you to write down on a test and not question anything. What we need to teach our kids is to question, regardless of if they think it's right or wrong. It's to get their mind more active, to question things.
Right. So it's not, in fact, important what you learn, but how you learn, and sort of teach teach folks to learn and to be able to and to be able to accept that, you know, in their ultimate and final analysis of things, they might come to a different conclusion than you have, but at least they've reached it on their own, right?
Exactly. I guess what I was getting at earlier was, for instance, people that deny things. I guess we'll go to a good example. We'll say the flat Earth people. You can have a person on YouTube that can be as convincing as you know, passionate. They can use big words, blah blah blah. But you know, if for the people that are watching it, if they can't think for themselves, then they're not going to question it. And it's like that for any subject, where if you get somebody that is passionate enough about a certain subject, then you know, if you don't think for yourself, you're going to find yourself believing that. You know, you should be questioning what science is, what just everything in life. Question it. Don't just take it in. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Don't just accept it. You know, Hitler was very charismatic, right? So, you know, if he was a poor speaker, he probably wouldn't have been successful. It's at least not to the degree that he was. And I mean, I use that extreme example just to illustrate the point, you know. And I think with more open-mindedness and even with the different conclusions and things like that, I got to think that we share enough on a basic primordial, like what it means to be human, that even in spite of cultural differences, that we would agree enough about the major things that we could actually live together in, you know, relative harmony if we were always questioning things and thinking for ourselves.
Exactly. And another thing is, like you use Hitler for an example, which is a good example for these days, about the way that the masses were living in Germany as he was rising in power, where they really had nothing.
Right.
They were cut off from the rest of the world. They walked around with wheelbarrows full of money to buy a loaf of bread. So when you're in that situation, that is going to make you more prone to believe somebody that's passionate like that. And we see that in modern day as well.
Right, yeah, without the basic necessities to get by and without access to education and information. And I mean, for as much crackpot things that are on the internet, and there are a great many, I think just the fact of having the internet and having it, you know, basically be free has really enabled, you know, the average person access to things that they wouldn't have had in previous times.
Oh, I would agree with you 100%. The internet's a weird example, though, because it works in such both ways to the extreme.
Yep.
Where you have websites like NASA's Picture of the Day that will give you links for everything and learn whatever you want to learn on a real scholar level, compared to watching Alex Jones on YouTube. You know, like it's... unfortunately, the masses tend to lean. Well, at least I don't know if this is true or not, but it seems
as though,
yeah, that the masses seem to lead towards those
the Alex Jones side of things.
Yeah, and or just any of those people that talk out of their ass and have really nothing to back it up with.
You don't mean like us, do you?
No, not at all. Not at all. Actually, it's funny. Not too long ago, a good friend of mine was visiting from British Columbia, and we were having some beers, and we always had some good conspiracy talks, but like reasonable conspiracy talks. And I noticed that this time was starting to get a little far-fetched for what he started to talk about. And it just reminded me when you said Alex Jones, because he brought up Alex Jones, and he was saying, you know what, that guy is, you know, as much as what people talk about him, he's got some good points, and he really can back those points up and blah, blah, blah. I wasn't having it, even for 1 second.
No, exactly. And I think that's the trouble with I mean, because it's passion, but it's also a very polished presentation, right? is able to hit those emotional drives in people and manipulate them. So again, that brings back to the other point that you really got to be careful about what your sources of information are. And I think for better or worse, with all the bad sources, I think it still does give greater access to more reputable sources for the average person. And I think it's ultimately got to be a good thing.
I would agree. And that's going back to the education and learning learning how to differentiate what is real, what's not real. Even if it is real, just question it. And that's what we need to do.
Learn to discern between fact and fiction. Double O, is there anything you'd like to add? Because I'm about ready to hit our final question, I think.
No, but all you listeners out there, you're all beautiful people and treat each other as best as possible.
Double O wants you to do well, and it also seems that he might be somewhat attracted to you. I don't know, folks. So I'm going to wrap this up here and ask you, like I do everybody, Double O, what do you think the meaning of life is?
Well, it's everybody lives their own experiences. We all have our own problems to overcome. If you don't learn from those problems, then you're bound to repeat them. And we need to learn from our learn. What doesn't kill us will make us stronger. And if we can learn and keep on moving to the next level from our mistakes, because it's natural to make mistakes, we need to remember that. And if we can fail and learn from our failures, then I think that's the meaning of life.
So learn from our failures, learn from our mistakes. It's okay to be making mistakes, but to make the same mistakes repeatedly over and over again shows that you ain't learning too good. Folks, I want to get into my liquor. I want to scratch some lotto tickets and potentially win some money. So folks, he's been Double O. I've been Josh Dunn. This has been Gimpin' Ain't Easy Cause It Ain't, episode 14. And like I tell you every time, look yourself every day in the mirror, especially when you're feeling low. You give yourself that Ric Flair, woo! And tell yourself, I'm the greatest of all time. I know I am. Good night.